Have you ever had the feeling that someone's watching you, even when you're alone, especially when you're alone? I used to think that was just anxiety, that irrational, paranoid that you try to ignore. But after what happened last summer, I don't trust that instinct anymore, because sometimes that feeling is real, and if you ignore it, you might not get a second chance. It started after I moved into a new apartment. I just gotten out of a relationship, and honestly, I welcomed the solitude. 3rd floor, into the hallway. A little too quiet, maybe, but cheap rent has its price. I work nights, so my sleep schedule's weird. I get home around 3 a.m. most days. That's when I started noticing things. At first, it was small stuff. The bathroom mirror would be fogged up when I got home, even though I hadn't showered. Once I found my bedroom window open, a window I never opened. I figured I was just being forgetful. Until the night, I came home and saw someone had left the kitchen light on. I live alone. I stood there in silence for a full minute. Nothing moved. I told myself maybe I'd accidentally left it on before work. I turned it off, checked every room, then locked myself in my bedroom like I was a kid again. I barely slept. 2 days later, I installed a cheap camera in my living room. Nothing fancy, just something to prove I was overreacting. But the next night, I woke up to the sound of a soft knock. Not at the door, from inside the apartment. 3 short knocks, then silence. I grabbed the bat and crept toward the sound, heart pounding so loud I swore whoever was there could hear it. I turned on the lights. Nothing. Every door was locked, every window shut. But when I checked the camera footage the next morning, something made me stop cold. There was a person in the apartment, not moving, just standing in the far corner by the window, for 13 minutes. Then they turned around and walked out of frame toward my bedroom. But I never saw them, never heard them. How did they get in? I called the landlord, who insisted no one else had a key. He even changed the locks that day. But that night, the knocking came again. Louder this time. Not soft anymore. Deliberate. Aggressive. I didn't open it. I waited until daylight. Packed a bag. Left. I didn't even check the camera this time. I didn't want to know. I haven't gone back. But here's the part I've never told anyone. A week after I moved out, I got a notification from the app linked to the camera. Motion detected. Living room. 3:43 a.m. I never pressed play. I wish I could tell you I deleted the footage. I never looked back. But curiosity has a way of eating at you in the dark, especially when you're trying to convince yourself you imagined everything. I waited 3 days before I opened the clip. It was worse than I remembered. The footage showed the living room empty for about 10 seconds. Then, from the hallway, my hallway, a figure stepped out, slowly, like they didn't want to wake anyone. They didn't look at the camera, just stood in the middle of the room, breathing. You could see the rise and fall of their shoulders. Then they walked straight to where the camera was mounted, right above the TV. The video blurred as they got close, but just before the lens was covered by a hand, you could see something. Not their face, but their eyes. Wide, focused, like they knew I'd be watching one day. The feed cut to black. I stared at that blank screen for minutes. Something about those eyes. There was no panic, no emotion. Just quiet control, like they were waiting for something. For me, I contacted the police. I showed them the footage. They promised to look into it. But 2 weeks passed. Nothing. No updates. No follow-up. When I called again, they told me the footage was inconclusive, that there was no sign of forced entry. End of file. So I did the thing you're not supposed to do. I went back. I convinced myself I needed closure, that I needed to see the apartment again in daylight, to prove it wasn't as sinister as my memory made it. I called the landlord and asked if I could retrieve something I left. He agreed to meet me that Saturday. I hadn't been back inside for over a month. Everything was exactly as I'd left it. Dust on the counter. My coffee mug still next to the sink. The smell of old, sealed air. It was quiet. Too quiet. I walked through the apartment slowly, waiting to feel something. Fear. Closure. Relief. But it was like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Then I heard something fall in the bedroom. Just a soft clink, like metal on wood. I froze. I hadn't told the landlord what I was really doing there. He waited outside. I wanted to handle it alone. Stupid, I know. I opened the bedroom door slowly. The noise had stopped, but there on the floor was something I hadn't brought with me. A key. A single, Old-fashioned brass key, just lying there on the hardwood. I didn't touch it. I turned and walked straight out, locked the door, handed the key to the landlord and said I was done. He looked confused, but didn't ask questions. That night, I checked into a cheap motel, just for peace of mind. No cameras, no windows, facing alleys. I barely slept, and when I did, I dreamed of the apartment, of the figure, standing in the dark, watching me sleep, breathing. It's been months now. I moved cities, changed my number, got rid of everything I owned from that time. But last week, I got a package at my new address. No return label. Inside was a flash drive. It had one file, _03_43_21_final MP4. I haven't watched it yet. I don't think I ever will, but I can still feel those eyes waiting